Hello and welcome to another edition of the NAG How-To series. Today I'm very proud to be joined by Ernie Harker. And Ernie, you're a man who needs no introduction in our industry, of course. Ernie is the founder of Earn Burn Brands, and he has a long legacy of doing great work in the convenience store industry at companies like Maverick, and we'll get into some of the work you've done. But before we begin, I want to thank our sponsor for this session. It's our good friends at Apter Industries. And I'm sure, as you know, Ernie, if you're going to have some good branding and a good brand, you need a good cleaning and chemical supply company. And that's what our friends at Apter Industries provide. So there's our plug for Apter. I want to welcome you. How have you been?
I've been doing awesome. Thanks so much, John.
Good. So I got to experience your brand quite a bit when you were with Maverick. Maverick was one of our chain of the year back about 10 years ago. And we did our Young Executives Organization conference at the Maverick base camp out there and got to experience the brand. You are a marketing guy through and through. What do you love about marketing? What makes you so passionate?
I love telling the stories. I love differentiating. Everybody needs the products or services that we all offer. And I really love the challenge of making it so appealing that the people, our customers, find it easy to select us, or at least my clients. So I love that part.
And you created that. There's no question that is the niche and that's the special, the it factor, if you will, that Maverick created. Their customers are some of the most loyal convenience store customers in the whole industry. Yeah.
In fact, it's probably pretty true that every C-store that has a very, very strong brand, a clearly articulated personality, has an equally loyal customer base. If you want a really, really loyal customer base, make the brand really, really definitive, really strong. And I don't mean just profitable and healthy. I mean, clearly articulate what it is about your company that is special or different from everybody else. And once you got that and you're able to represent that visually and like with personality and your marketing and all that kind of stuff, then your customers have a reason. It's like the Velcro. They need something to attach to. And if you don't have the brand Velcro, they're not going to attach to anything.
So true. So that's let me just jump into my first question there, because everyone thinks they're branding experts. Everyone wants to be a branding expert, but sometimes things don't go well and they don't go right. So what do most companies get wrong when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, good question. I think they usually think of a superficial definition of brand. What I mean by that is like, what is my logo and kind of my colors? How do I look different from my competitor? And unfortunately, that look that they create may not be in line with the personal or the personality or values of the company. For example, real quick, if my brand is about cheerfulness and positivity and happiness and stuff like that, but I choose a red and black logo, because it's distinctive. Well, red and black, just the colors alone, don't reflect the personality of the company. And so what ends up happening is, over time, if my logo and its colors or whatever are being promoted to my audience, and my message is, hey, we're happy, we're light, we're fun, we're exciting, you're going to have a disconnect, and the customer is never going to get past that, because you're using language, visual language, that's inconsistent with the personality you're trying to portray. So we get it wrong by viewing branding as a visual, like, differentiating exercise, instead of a start from the soul of the company, who we are and what do we do, what are we about, then how do we express that consistently? That's where real good branding comes from.
And we see some of that on the food service side of the industry. You see them, you talk about the colors now, where they've moved to more earth tones and green to reflect the food service, the fresh food, versus something that's more rigid and dark.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you see, so in color psychology, basically color psychology is that colors have inherent meaning to them. We don't get to prescribe individual meaning to colors. And this is usually like regionally, like and culturally, like, but in the US, yellow means happiness, cheerfulness. It could be associated with sunshine, positivity, optimism. And all you have to do is go on to Google search color psychiatry, color psychology of yellow, and you'll get a very consistent description of what the personality is, or descriptions, the personality descriptions of that color. So if your color or your brand is about like energy, aggression, and excitement, well, just type those words in and you'll get colors back that tell you what colors you should be using. And the same is true for fonts and design elements. And, you know, do you use a gritty font or do you use a clean sans serif font? What language do you use? What vocabulary do you use to represent the personality of your brand?
I mean, that really is fascinating stuff. And all the top companies are doing this. I mean,
yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, brand is a language. Brand is, you use an orchestra of colors, textures, images, figures, like I call it a brand transference, when you use a celebrity that represents the personality of your brand. So because people understand the personality of a celebrity, they've built that. Now, if you assign that celebrity to your brand by having them be a sponsor, not a sponsor, what do you call it, a spokesperson or whatever, then there's this quick read. Oh, you know, Subway must be a lot like Steph Curry in his personality, because I've seen the association there.
Sure.
Or they dramatize a character like Flo. Progressive does this Flo character. Flo is an every woman. She's not super, super attractive. That's intimidating. And she's not someone repulsive to look at, but she has this distinctive look and this cheerful attitude that says, hey, Progressive must be like that. And so that's, and because they use Flo and their colors so much, you can see like half of Flo's face and you know, Progressive. They've done it so consistently that they've driven into our minds their brand of positivity, ease, you know, a convenience. So that's been their brand language.
And you know what's funny about that, Ernie? You and I had a number of pre-recording conversations. I went to high school with Flo.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
Is she like that in real life?
Well, she's older now, you know.
But you're not. But you're not older.
I get accused of still acting like I'm 18 all the time.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, she's a big celebrity now, so we don't get to talk to her anymore.
Yeah, you're probably, you know, she's a big deal.
She's a big deal.
You know, the big guy in C-store decisions, you know, not so big a deal. Whatever.
Yeah, I know where to get cheap gas though, right? If you need gas, they're $4.50. Call me. Now there is you really outlined some of the important and the salient points that go into building a brand, but why don't you kind of put a face on some of the four main steps you need to build a brand strategy?
Oh, awesome. Thanks for that opportunity. Well, the first is to identify what I call your brand spark, the unique difference that you have in your business that other businesses don't have, that you compete with. If you don't have an inherent uniqueness to it, then you need to create one. So Mavericks, if people who know Maverick, the Maverick store chain, they were fiercely independent and they wanted to like completely live out of the box. They had this very independent spirit that they represented for years as this cowboy Western themed brand. Well, that lost its mojo. It lost its relevance. And if you're a brand that's kind of losing its relevance, it's losing its connection, a rebrand or a brand refresh would probably be in order. But so for Maverick, we created a theme, or we acquired a theme that was in line with this independent spirit, and that was in line with the personality of like, we want to be the place where people kind of have or experience an adventure. So that's the brand spark, is the unique difference, because no other convenience store was focused on adventure as their brand. So that was something that Maverick could own in that mental and emotional space amongst all their competitors, right? So find that unique spark. The second thing is to identify your core customer. In the C-store world, we often share the same customer profile. Depending on where you live and where you operate, you might have a little more urban, or you might have a little more metro. But if you know who your customer is, you can craft the bait. Think of customers like fish. If you're a fisherman, if you know where your fish are and you know what you're fishing for, you can craft the right bait or image or appeal that they will be attracted to. Because in fishing, you have to attract the fish with bait or a lure that they're interested in, that they find appealing. So if you know who your customer is, you can create an image that they will be attracted to. And the second thing is, you also know where they swim, where they look for on social media, what platforms they use, what times of day they do, where they get their entertainment, their news, all those kinds of things. So second thing is identify your core customer. Third is to realize your core belief. And this is very much like Simon Sinek's your why. Why are you in business? If it wasn't for the money, let's take the money out of it. Why would you do this? If the organization is about like, I really feel that we add value to our customers' lives through a sense of friendliness and a sense of personal connection, then that should inform the expression of the brand. That which should also be, if we're like, hey, we really, really care about the personal connection we have with our customers, then how quick will you be toward self-checkout? Or if you do self-checkout to make it convenient, how do you increase your level of friendship and relationship with your customers if they lose a touch point in the offering of people-less checkout, self-checkout, right? That becomes a strong measuring point on whether or not your brand is authentic to you. Okay, so that's the third thing, is identify or realize your core belief. And you used to write that out. It's like, why are we doing this? Why are we in business to do this? And I remember one of the things we learned at Maverick, as we were kind of like reverse engineering, why are we so adventurous? We really believe that adventure elevates life. We believe that people who go on adventures have a fantastic experience on those adventures. That became a very true statement to us. That it was a belief that we had that drove a lot of the decisions we made. Like, do we really believe this? Why would we paint our ceilings blue and wrap our stores' interiors with adventure environments? Because we truly believe that adventure elevates life. The fourth thing, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and in life imitating art, in this case, you had customers creating YouTube videos just randomly and sending them and tagging Maverick, going out and white water rafting and mountain biking and saying, I got my inspiration from Maverick. And that was all organic. You didn't plant those seeds. The customers ran with it. That's
and it's because they related or connected to a brand that they loved. That really, and I tell this to people all the time, Maverick sells hot dogs, nachos, Coca-Cola, gasoline, sandwiches, chicken, like everybody else. Now we do it in our own way, but it's not because our food offering, because I'd say about 95% of all the products we offer are the exact same ones you can get across the street. So why would they care? Why would they care to take a picture of themselves snowboarding, holding a Maverick bonfire burrito unless they really felt an attraction to the brand. There was an emotional connection with the brand. Like 7-Eleven doesn't do that very well, but Slurpee does.
Sure.
Right? Well, anyway, before I forget, the fourth step in developing a brand is to, and this is the most fun exercise, and it's maybe, well, it is a critical one, but it might be the most critical. These 4 things are, just write down 5 or 6 adjectives that you want to use to describe your brand. Okay? They have to be very, very specific. 2 of which can't be used to describe any of your competitors. So let's say this: we want to be fast, friend, clean, reliable, and fun. Fast, friendly, clean, reliable, and fun. Okay, fun might be the only one that not everybody wants to be. But if you want to be fun, what would you do in your visual expression of your brand to be fun? And then that's where the fun starts. You go, okay, what is fun? Oh, circus clowns are fun. Balloons are fun. Birthdays are fun. What else is fun? Because fun isn't the same thing as cool, right? Sure. Well, do we want to be cool or do we want to be fun? So if you write down these adjectives, and at least 2 of which can't be ascribed to any competitor, now you have a unique set of measuring sticks to evaluate and choose the visual and verbal language to express your new brand or whatever that brand is, right? If all the adjectives can be used by your competitor, guess what? You're not different. So you're just going to promote the sameness that you have with somebody else. So,
and this is how you end up with snowboarders in the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. Because we want people to feel that way. Real quickly, I want to share a story. Stinker stores. There's a stinker station. There's a brand called Stinker up in Idaho that has a bunch of stores, and they were starting they wanted to kind of revamp their food offering. Like, okay, their mascot is a skunk. Having food packaged with the logo of a skunk on it was a big, like, they were like, how are we going to do this? And I went up and I was consulting with them. And I was like, well, what happens if you get rid of the skunk altogether? You would have thought I poked a hornet's nest, and not just in the office, but around the town. There is so much pride in this Stinker skunk, this character, that by taking that brand spark out of the equation, they would have become like everybody else. And so what we decided to do is like, okay, we need to go all in. We need more character poses of the skunk. Instead of using the same one over and over again, let's bring him to life. And let's create a story behind it. Because that is what made it special. So anyway, I bring that up because in the C-store industry, sometimes the brand spark isn't what you always think it's going to be. And they can always be clean, fast, and friendly. I mean, you better be that. That's like table stakes. You better be doing that no matter what. So, but being able to be different in some way helps you tell a story about why you should be preferred.
That skunk brand, I've been out and visited with Charlie and his team. It is a beloved brand in that market. They do a really wonderful job.
They do.
So I have a question that I want to throw at you now, because this is something that, even in my business that we worry about, and that is personal biases. So how, when you are creating a brand and branding decisions, do you take your personal biases out of it? And, you can use that Stinker station analogy, right? Well, that's maybe not a good one, but the skunk is a bias. But, I can go into it saying, hey, I have to have this, but an outsider could say, you may want to rethink it. So how do you get rid of that personal bias? Yeah,
I think the personal bias comes from once a brand is defined. Once a brand is defined and established, there are many, many people who work on the brand. Not just your marketing director. You have operations, you have HR, you have construction. In the C-store world, you've got so many different organizations that have to do things that are filtered through the brand. Well, if not everybody is looking at the brand in the same way, you're going to have a messed up, convoluted brand appearance. So your customers will be super confused. Just imagine this. Okay, we have a really cool brand, right? Well, one department says cool means aloof, sophisticated, distant, because they can look it up in the dictionary. That's what cool means to them, right? Well, another department, say the marketing department, they're made out of a bunch of young people and they're going, cool means rock and roll. This is awesome. Cool means like trendy and hip, right? So far, we've got two distinct personalities of what cool is. Well, the construction department thinks cool is cold, sterile, frigid. So let's make things that look like it's coming from, it's made out of ice and stone and stuff like that. Oh, great. We're not interpreting the brand the same way. Well, I think cool means this. When I think cool means that. So what I did for clients, I did at Maverick was like, I hated being the brand czar. The construction guy would come to me and say, look, I'm supposed to ask you what surfaces we can use for the new countertops. What do you think? Oh, brand, poobah, what works? And I'm like, man, I feel like I'm the judge in Israel, that all the problems of Israel come to me, and I'm Moses and I have to dole out judgment. I'm like, okay, this is not a good formula. So what I did is I decided I need to define the Maverick brand in a way that everybody can interpret it the same way. And so I just drew a graph. I drew a graph and I put in the top right-hand corner, I drew the Maverick logo. And across the top, I put levels of intensity or excitement, because we want to have a very exciting outdoor adventure brand. So levels of excitement, okay? On the side, I put location. Is it urban, or is it in the mountains? Is it on the street, or is it in the hills? Okay, so now you have location and intensity. So when we had an opportunity to sponsor an event, and it was let's call it something real easy, like a golf event. We have golf, or we can do the high school mountain biking club. It doesn't matter what I think anymore. Where are those plots, where are they plotted on the graph? Golf. Is it outside? Yes, it's outside. Is it in the mountains? It's not often. It's usually kind of citywide. Okay, so it's kind of in the middle there. Okay, what about intensity? Probably not very intense. Okay, so we'll put that in the kind of middle on the right-hand side. What about mountain biking? Is it in the mountains? Yes. How intense is it? Well, it's more intense than golf. So between the two choices, we no longer have the personal bias, because everybody interprets those two things pretty much the same. So having a brand chart, a brand graph, it's like, now we can use this brand graph to help us all see the brand through the same lens. Like one of my favorite examples, Nate Brazier, who is now, by the way, the CEO at Stinker now. Okay, so Nate Brazier was a district manager, a big deal at Maverick, totally cool guy. Well, we were doing store openings, and oftentimes you do a ribbon cutting to announce the store opening. It's a very traditional thing. You have a big pair of scissors and you have this big ribbon out there, right? Well, he's out there getting ready to do a store opening, and he thought, how adventurous is a scissor and ribbon cutting? So he goes and gets some climbing rope and this big knife. And he's like, we're going to do a ribbon cutting the Maverick way. And so he had this really fun and very distinctively branded ribbon cutting. Now, as a marketing director, I didn't prescribe that. I didn't say, okay, from now on, everybody needs to do ribbon cuttings like this. No, because there was a shared vision of the brand, everybody could bring their own genius to bear to represent that brand. But too often, the marketing guy is the only person that really understands the brand. And that should not be the case.
And that's, I mean, that is a fascinating take. That really is, to lay it, when you see it visually, when you're trying to explain the brand and you can pull out a chart like that, that has to be a really powerful tool. I'm not familiar with anyone doing that. So
yeah,
that's a great take.
I call it the brand matrix. I said the brand graph. It's the brand matrix. And really it's about, like, when you have those 4 or 5 or those adjectives, a handful of adjectives, divide them into groups of two different groups, and you, okay, here, these are the axes of our graph now. They come from the adjectives that we've used to define our brand. So once you have that down, it makes it so much easier to go, okay, for surfaces, do we do, the sunrise yellow stone, the sunrise yellow melamine countertop, or do we use wood texture, or do we use rock? Well, rock and wood both sound like good options. Either one will work. The sunshine yellow melamine stuff, that will not work for a Maverick countertop, right? So now I don't have to prove everything. I just given them the standard.
It's a great take, and this is why C-store companies need to bring Ernie in to get this.
You're awesome. You're awesome, John.
And well, and actually, it kind of leads to my next question, and that is, in this social media age and in this progressive social environment that we're living in, why is branding so much more important now with Google and Alexa and social media and every other way to hit customers? Why is it so much more important now?
Because we're already seeing it now, but even it's going to be more so in the future. When you want something, you're not going to go online. You're not even going to look at your phone. You're going to ask Google. You're going to ask Alexa. You're going to ask some AI, and you're going to say either C-store near me, and that's terrible. You do not want to be the C-store near you. You want to be Maverick near me, because otherwise you are not even on the list of consideration. The Google doesn't say, I know you're driving, but here are the top 10 locations. Nope, it's going to just give you one answer. Do you want to be at the top of that answer? Do you want to be the first answer that comes up? That's brand.
And it's that's one of the concerns for convenience stores nowadays. It used to be, even when you were driving, that you're worried about being that guy. But now with these third-party providers, everyone's your competitor. If you have food, you're the local Chinese restaurant, the Indian restaurant, the Asian fusion place, your C-store competitors, McDonald's, Arby's. Everyone's a competitor now, and it doesn't matter to the third party. They're completely agnostic. They'll go wherever the customer wants them to go. Yep. So there's a lot of branding and a lot of marketing still to be done by our industry.
Yep. There's a lot of potential, but what's really fun about the C-store industry is that the bar in most places is pretty low. All you have to really do is define what you want to be, understand who your customers are, be very true to your beliefs, and then come up with something that is really different and be consistent with it. And you'll kill it. You will freaking kill it. You don't have to be Maverick Adventure. You can be anything you want, as long as it's highly differential and consistently represented.
100%, especially on the food service side. Don't try to have 100 different menu items.
Yeah.
Pick 5 or 6 and be great at them.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
All right. Well, good, Ernie. We could do this all day, and hopefully we'll
good.
Let's tell our audience how can everyone get in touch with you.
I'm on LinkedIn. Just look for Ernie Harker. Ernie Harker on LinkedIn.
website or
Yeah.
anything you want to promote?
Yep. You can go to earnburn.com. That is probably the best. www.earnburn.com.
And Ernie's a frequent speaker at industry events, so please check him out. And he's worked on so many brands in the industry now. I'm glad to see that you're getting your expertise out there. I think some country fair work you did. I love the new brand. It's absolutely spectacular. Company needed an overhaul, and it looks great.
Thank you. Hey, if by the way, if anybody listening wants me to speak at their event, I love speaking at C-Store events. So please hit me up.
And we're going to get you for our Young Executives Organization conference.
Yes.
You could shape those young minds of our generation leaders. All right.
Thanks,
Well, thank you very much again, Ernie, for your time today, and thank our friends at Apter Industries for being our sponsor. I'm John Lovestock. I'm the Executive Director of the National Advisory Group, and thanks again for joining us on another edition of the NAG How To Series. Have a good day, everyone.